Ivdu es Hashem besimcha bo lefanav binana. Ivdu es Hashem besimcha bo lefanav binana. So, as we know, the first thing to do, the first way to get out of stuckness is to know where you're stuck at. You have to know where you are on the GPS. Where am I on the radar detector? Where on the radar? Where am I being detected? Where can I detect myself? Where am I beeping? Where do I show up? And once we know where we are, I can find myself. And once I find myself, then most of the time that is the exit. You're gonna wake up from this dream knowing where we're at. You're gonna find yourself instead of being in captivity, being distracted. So where are we? Where are we stuck? And what is the purpose of the struggle that we are going through? I know there's many ways how to understand this and how to benefit from it and how to utilize it and cash in on it. But let's go with the Mahalach and see what this week's parsha is revealing to us as to how and where we need to deal with this. So before Adam Harishon ate from the Eitz Hadas, Tov v'Ra, the way he saw the world was transparent. He was in transparency, which means that Adam Harishon saw from one end of the world to the other. You heard that expression before. What that means is that everything was layered. He saw an animal. He saw the trees, the water. He was like living in an aquarium. Like he saw everything was in front of him. Wherever he looked, he saw everything through and through. Which means the whole world is a puzzle. The whole creation is a puzzle. Everything is intertwined. Everything is in connection with something else. If you remove something, I don't want to say if you remove something, I want to work with whatever is the way world was created. And the last piece of the puzzle was the man. Adım's was created on the last day, and he's the purpose of all. But ultimately, he saw everything in layers, which means that the whole creation is Allah b'machshava. Everything is the imagination of Creator. It's one small tiny bit of information. So just one laser, one light of imagination. Allah b'machshava, and from that place, everything is being. In other words, He's holding space for everything. Everything that we are experiencing, everything that we see, is being held space by Creator. He's thinking about it. It's holding space, and it's just so we understand it. Rosh Hashanah, we are again machter the king. We make him king again. That he should, so to speak, continue holding space for it. Because if he stops thinking about it for 1 second, it's game over. Right? Everything is gonna just deflate. Right now, everything is in place. All the galaxies, all the stars, the angels, and all the creatures, so on and so forth. So what happened is that Adam lived in a space of just being. He was in Gan Eden. He didn't have to do anything. All he had to do is just be. All he had to do is just be. And the only thing that was actually holding him in place, the only thing that was the loisasa was not to eat from the tree of knowledge, good or bad. But otherwise, that was almost like the stopper of, to give him a little bit of a gravity. But other than that, everything was he was in the know. He didn't live at full capacity. That's why the Eitz Hadas had to happen. He didn't live at full capacity because he didn't really live. He just was. He was like the fish in the water. There was no real. He didn't really utilize all the whatever was available. Didn't at the full capacity of what was available. We're living right now in more of a capacity of utilizing we're squeezing everything, every screw, we're tightening every screw. But Adam lived in a space of he just was, which means that it was Tachas idea shaloi neda. In other words, he didn't have to know anything. He just was. Everything made sense. Everything was perfectly in place. The screw, the brick that's on line number 20 is just there. It's holding space, it's doing its job, and it's perfectly comfortable with what it's doing. It's not asking any questions, and that's where he was. Therefore, he was in Gan Eden. All the doors were open for him. There was no blockages. Everything was flowing, and everything was fine. Now, I mean, he was at the highest vibration, which means that everything made sense. He didn't process it. He didn't need to process it. He just was. He didn't need to understand it. He just was present with what was, with what is. Then, once he eats from the Eitz Hadas, which is the tree of knowledge. Now, there's a machlekes what the Eitz Hadas was. If it was, some say it was apple, and some say that it was chita. But going with the mandama that says that it was chita. Chita is wheat. Chita is 22. 22 chaves oisius, which means that he now downloaded a new program which existed of 22 letters. And the 22 letters means that there is everything is all types of combinations is possible. So what happened was Eitz Das Tevara, that there's another element now that came into Bria, that came into human, that is also has a mind, also has a saying, which means that no longer am I a child that you're telling me what to do and I don't have das and I'm just listening. Now I have to go to bed and now I have to do this. I'm not asking any questions. But rather, now I have a choice, which is not, it wasn't even up to him. It almost like the human was forced now, everything that was put in front of human, there was a question, why do I need to do this? Actually, I want to understand this so I can understand, I can be better at it, I can do a better job at it, I can be more mindful of it. So he downloaded a language of 22 letters, a whole new program came into existence, and now we're dealing with a Toivera program. So everything has to be processed, and which means that the creator that's holding space for us is unlimited. It's all over Mashova, it's Bleakville, it's infinite, it's unlimited. We are just one piece of the puzzle, one aspect of the bigger picture. Once man, Adam, eats from the tree of knowledge, he now has to understand. But how do you, when you're vibing from a place that is, you're receiving from a place that everything is complete, which means that the thing above me, my tati, my father, is already worrying about everything for me. All I gotta do is come home and eat, and I gotta go and come back home and go to sleep and eat. And now when I'm trying to understand something, when human is limited, we are in gevul, we are in limitation, I'm trying to understand something that is unlimited, that is, what happens is that we went from transparency to two-dimensional. Everything went flat. All of a sudden, the whole thing, I'm stuck. I can't make sense. The information comes in, and there's something telling me, wait, the processor, instead of going, just flowing, you went, and it's stuck. There's a stuckness. Now I'm stuck. Stuck in a way that the cause of anxiety, it's almost like having blinders, like a horse running with blinders. All I can only see in front of me. And I'm trying to understand information, my existence that is coming into me is a place that is all around. It sees, it has the view of the whole picture of the whole creation of the whole bria. Everything, all the galaxies, everything was already programmed for me to just be with it. All I had to do was not get in the way, and the way I wasn't getting in the way is by not knowing, just being. Now I am in the program of knowing. How can I know something that is at some point of the program, the way to process it is by just not knowing. After a certain place is loy neda. I'm entering a place of kesser. I'm going into a place that is not processable. The way to process it is by not understanding, is by just being. But there is something in me, in my program, in AI in my system that is operating unknowing. So how can I process something that is not the way to know it is just by being, but something that is in absolute contradiction to that. The way it eats is by digesting. It needs to chew it, and this thing can be chewed. It can be taken in that way. So there was a massive crash in the system. On top of that, the nachash, the way we are viewing life existence now is through the nachash. We're in the skin of the snake. The snake they remove his legs, his legs, his hands, and he crawls on the floor. He doesn't taste anything. He can't feel anything. He can't smell anything. All he sees is two-dimensional. He's walking on the floor. He's two-dimensional. He can't see anything. And we are a high-functioning being trapped in a two-dimensional body, and there is what we're experiencing right now. What we're experiencing right now, it's there is machshava hakduma, which is the beginning, the first thought, which is the highest level of machshava. Even that can't understand what's before that, which means that Creator is even above that too. So there is levels that we can't, even machshava keduma, the first thought that came out of Creator, that also doesn't understand where it's coming from, like what the purpose is of what's going on over there, because it's not something that can be processed. It's just something that can be. Not something that is das. It's lo neda. It's not to know. It's just to be. In other words, we have to. So now the process is that we have to go through a process of knowing, so I can get to a place of bittul to understand that I don't know anymore. So there's two ways. There is some that come in from the kavah chesed, which is to have massive abundance to the point where there's so much abundance to the point that it makes no sense anymore, and therefore they get to a place of bittul. And then the other side of that is the people that go through a massive struggle, and the struggle is so tight and so squeezed to the point that it makes no sense anymore, that at some point I can't process anymore. So when I can't process anymore, I just have to be. So I'm entering in the place of lo neda. So once again, I'm opening up, and my keser opens up, and I can just be in the full body. Sometimes we just surrender from a place of one aspect of our life, from the heart center, from the will, but then ultimately it's going to be a koimas shalema. When everything is going to come together, we're going to be a place of just being. That is when we are entering in the place of yichida, and there's a chaya, there's the chida, the neshama, different levels. So that is, and then we're entering in the place once again of transparency, where we're going to be able to see everything that is. In other words, the blinders are going to be removed, and we're just going to be what ultimately we need to remember, that we are all one creature. We're all one. We're all connected. There is no separation. We are so one that even our interactions that we're having with each other from a place of an ego, that I am me and you are you, even that is just a part of the oneness. That's how the program runs. Even that is a part of oneness. It's just that where the snake comes in is that we're stuck in it. We can't understand that. We can't make peace with that we are one. It doesn't make sense. We aren't separate. We live in different zip codes. We think different. So the ego is hijacking us, that I can't surrender to the fact that we are one organism. But ultimately, when we're going into a deeper process, when we're going into a place of stillness, we enter in that place, as we said many times before, a place that it's always that always is here, always will be here, will never die. It's just one. But for the ego, it's a bit too much to go there, because it has to give up its individuality. And when you give up your individuality, the snake is going to cease to exist. And he doesn't want to cease to exist. He wants to live. He wants to. He bites. He wants to be around. And that is. But the last piece, by the way, is a big piece, and it's a very complex piece in Chassidus, which is it's a big isbaininus and so on and so forth. Bezrat Hashem, there should be more expansion on that. So that is what this week's parsha is, and that is what our process that we are going through is Vatara Mateva. Through our struggles and through our abundance, through our shefa, we are ultimately, the teva is going to pick up and is going to become one once again. Instead of having one letter here and one letter there, it's going to become one sentence, and it's going to make sense once again. That we're just gonna, the first step in the healing is, and the first and the final, and where it's at, is to be able to accept and to be able to understand that that it's all just to be. Just to be, that we are, to go back into transparency, just to be able to see everything in layers. In other words, everything that's coming our way, all our do's and our don'ts, we should be able to see it in one, from one, going into a place of where it's one picture and it's all making sense, instead of when I'm living in a place from my ego, when I'm living from a place of two-dimensional, I'm processing one piece of information at a time. And if I'm processing one piece of information at a time, then I'm never able to see the full picture. I'm never able to see the full picture because I'm processing one piece of information at a time, when really this one piece of information is just one piece of a bigger picture. And everybody, based on their lens and based on their traumas, where they're being captive or they're being held, if it's in your connection center, and if your das or whatever it is, sees that piece of information, a different piece of information, and that's why it can't connect, it can't come along, it can't get together, and that's where and that's why there's different things that are happening in the world right now, that we're going through a process, that there's massive achdus, people are coming together, because from it's where the ego is calling us out. Our desire, the push of wanting to get together, the magnetic field that's pushing so hard to connect, is forcing the opposition to show up. And when the opposition shows up, then you're feeling singled out, and once again you understand who you are. You understand that where you belong. You understand what your tribe is, Am Yisrael, or whatever it is. Everybody's gonna have to find their place, to fall into place. And once you're connecting and knowing where on the map and where on the radar you are, you will find yourself. And once you find yourself, that's the redemption, because you know where you belong and you make peace with that. And Rav Nachman talks about that too, with the different levels, which ultimately, if we're all going to be one, then what's the purpose of one person is doing this type of work and the other person is just kicking back and not doing anything? So how is that fair if everybody's going to be redeemed? But he explains that everybody is going to be exactly where they need to be. This person that seems that he's doing less or more than the other person, that's where it's at. But because we're only seeing one piece of information from my egotistical place, I'm judging that. I can't see the bigger picture. But if I make peace and I understand and I see the bigger picture, I'm understanding that person is that expression is exactly the expression, the way it needs to be, in order for my expression to be where my expression needs to be. So Vatar Mateva, the Teva we should all rise up. We should go up, and we should be able to get above the water, instead of being drowned in the water. Be able to take a deep breath. We should be able to take a real, not a recycle, but a fresh breath, deep breath, a fresh deep breath. Okay, I'll process it later, but that's the matzav. Fresh breath of air. Deep, fresh breath of air. Okay. Anyways, so should be an awesome Shabbos. And don't forget that Shabbos is the Mekoyer HaBracha. Shabbos is when we're entering in that place of Das, because Shabbos is the Ratzon. Shabbos is Raiva the Raiva. It's the Ratzon, and the Ratzon is what drives everything. When you're entering in the place of Ratzon, then you're coming in from the week of Ratzon. When I have my will that is fully activated, then things happen just from a place of my Ratzon, just from a place of my will. So yes, we should enter in the place of Ratzon. Things should be put together. The Mishkan should be built. Have an awesome Shabbos.